Fans, welcome to Sports Chat. Got a few things to talk about here this week. We're kind of in that really gray, dead waste zone, but there's some bright spots going on.
Yeah, I mean, local level, I believe we're in the dead period now.
We're not the
very
dead
close
period.
to it.
Dead period starts
That's
next
right.
week.
It will start after the week after June. Cougars, they have some practices next week in basketball and a blue and orange game on Thursday, June the 26th, I believe, somewhere around in there. So Cougar basketball, that'll be their last bit of practice before the dead period starts. I guess this is their equivalent of spring practice going right now. As summer practice, they don't really have a for spring because the season's just ended for them in the spring. But I'm sure the Lady Cougars are doing something similar. They've been playing in some camps. Had a good showing at the camp in Georgetown, Kentucky recently.
A lot of talented underclassmen going to be stepping up this year.
You get some all-district type guys that'll be coming back for the team, and the girls' side they're doing pretty well too. I think they'll be okay next year. Brad Honeycutt and Bo are a good coach, and
it looks like Jessica Moore is going to be
Jessica
joining.
Moore said she may be joining the staff. Football, the press box renovations are underway, and there should be a new scoreboard coming in pretty soon too. So it just to continue the next phase of sprucing up El Hope Dossett Stadium.
Well, and speaking of renovations, this softball field is going to get an upgrade, which
Yeah.
honestly, it's long overdue. I mean, they're going to get a new scoreboard, which I don't recall the last time the scoreboard actually worked
It's been a
properly.
few years since the scoreboard actually worked in up at the high school, but improvements all over. Maybe in some years down the road, they'll even be able to get tennis courts in. We've spoken about before. Basketball, hopefully they can get the new scoreboards in there. It's the same scoreboards that was there when we were in high school.
Yeah.
And
And Coke will no longer service them because some idiot, Director Miller, got us into a Pepsi contract that
frankly,
involved no scoreboards.
I mean, the scoreboards, I started in 1988, so do the math. He started in 1987, so do the math. So those scoreboards are really old.
I'm not entirely sure that's not the original. I don't know if it's the original football. I'm pretty sure that's the original basketball scoreboard.
They've been there for a while. Some of the bulbs are burned out. It makes it hard to see the floor. They really need new ones. Hopefully they get those. National level sports, of course. Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup
Dynasty.
again. Made them officially a dynasty by recognition. Pretty much the dominant force in hockey the last 7 years. I think they have 3 Stanley Cups in that period. A couple of other appearances in the Western Conference Finals.
They play good hockey. I know there's not a ton of people that know or follow hockey right here. If you follow hockey, they're a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, very, very fluid offense. They play great defense too. Just a good hockey team, and I like overtime hockey in the playoffs, and they're usually good for a few good overtime games during the playoffs.
There's nothing more exciting than overtime hockey, except for when they pull the goalie in overtime hockey.
Well, that would be a crazy move in overtime hockey, but I guess some people have done it before. Because as soon as you still are sudden death, it's more like they pull the goalie in the final minute of regulation. But it can happen, I guess. The other thing, NBA finals are over.
Golden State won that one.
Golden State.
My grandmother's new favorite player is Steph Curry because he beat LeBron.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much the way it works these days. LeBron had big numbers through the finals. Took a lot of shots. I think the third most shots in a 6-game series in finals history. Scored a lot of points, but he's taking 35 or 40 shots a game to do it. Chuck Daly always had the Jordan rule, and people interpret it differently over the years, but the original Jordan rule, and Chuck Daly, I've heard him say this before straight out of his mouth, he wanted Michael Jordan, he knew Michael Jordan was going to score 30, 35, 40 points. But he wanted him to do, have to shoot 35 or 40 shots to score 35 or 40 points. And he said, you're doing well on defense if you're making the guy, shoot a bunch of shots to score all these points. That's what LeBron did through the entire series. Instead of, shooting 20 shots. Steph Curry, for instance, had 20 shots and scored 39 points in a game on 20 shots. LeBron scored 32 points in the last game. He shot 33 times. He shot 38 times one night and scored 40. I mean, he shot about 38% from the field for the series, and pretty much the ball never leaves his hand, and Golden State plays small ball, so it's pretty much he was the biggest guy on the court a lot of times, and that's why he put up those gaudy numbers. But It wasn't a team effort at all. I mean, there were some injuries after they got to the finals. Kyrie Irving got hurt. Kyrie Irving had 30 points in game 1. A lot of people were making it look like LeBron just carried the team into the finals.
Kyrie Irving's a great ball player.
He is, and it's a tough loss, but I mean, he still played with other NBA players. It's not like anybody in the NBA.
It's not like he's playing with us.
I mean, that's what people made that to be, like he's just playing like he was the Washington Generals and LeBron, but it wasn't. In Cleveland, they had NBA level players. There were a couple of guys that scored 25, 30 points in some of the games once Irving was out. But when he's shooting half your shots basically, and you've got 9 guys on the team that can score possibly, and one guy shooting half the time. And it wasn't even when I watched it like he was getting just heavily defended. Andre Iguodala did a good job, but there was just wide open shots he was claiming. And in that final 2 minutes of Game 6 the other night, he just quit. LeBron was nowhere to be seen. I mean, the Cavs got it interesting. They got it within 2 possessions after being down by about 15 points. That was because J.R. Smith was taking all the big shots. And people try to compare LeBron and Michael Jordan. You would never see a game in the last 2 minutes that Michael Jordan didn't have the ball, wasn't doing the shooting, unless he was drawing 4 defenders and passing it off. LeBron would walk up the court, hand the ball to J.R. Smith, and Smith would try to create and shoot a 3-pointer.
Jordan, he made a statement the other day, still believe I can beat any of these players on this team I manage, one-on-one.
He might be able to. I would never doubt him. I mean, but this finals, like I say, that low shooting percentage, he put up gaudy numbers. Scored the second most percentage of his team's points in the finals. Of course, that belongs to Jordan. LeBron averaged 35 in this finals. Jordan averaged 42 points a game in the 1993 finals against Phoenix. Shot about 52% from the floor for the finals. I think he averaged 8 rebounds, 7 assists a game, 3 steals a game. Much better defense. There's just no comparison. People try to compare. It's not fair. Even the Kobe comparison is not a legitimate comparison because 3 of Kobe's titles were Shaquille O'Neal titles.
Yeah.
I mean, Kobe was not the star on those teams. Kobe was a secondary piece because you build around big men in the NBA. And
Shaq was a heck of a big man.
Other than Michael Jordan, that's what you do. Yeah, Shaq has 4 championships of his own, and where he carried other players to championships basically, and that's just how it goes. You got a good big man, you're going to win. And this newer NBA is not quite as prevalent as it used to be because a lot of teams are playing small ball now. And big, athletic, talented 7-footers seem to be more rare. I don't know what happened to that.
Well, it's just like watching at the high school how the big man has degraded as far as a role.
Yeah.
They're just not there.
I mean, that's weird. I mean, you think when we were young, we were kids, the league was filled with guys who were 6'11" to 7'3", 7'4". They were talented. I mean, Moses Malone, Ralph Sampson, Hakeem Olajuwon,
Kevin Nash,
David Robertson. Not really Kevin Nash. He was a terrible basketball player. Did good against Kentucky though, so
that's what matters.
But the NBA Kareem. There was just a lineup of 7'2", 7'3", really talented guys. Now you get a few guys that are big like that, but they're much fewer. They're just big stiffs that don't do much of anything. I mean, it's a different league now. And the rules are different now. The defense, you can't hand check, you can't touch people. They want more offense to come, so they really loosen the defensive rules. Hand checking is now a foul immediately. LeBron can pretty much come down the court, elbow you in the face, kick you out of the way, and dunk it, and you get a foul called on you. And that's his specialty, is walking and clear outs because he's big. He's 6'8" and 270, and he uses a big, he gives you this or shoves you down or whatever, and he's never going to get a foul call. He shot 70 free throws in the series, for instance. The series I'm talking about where Jordan set the record for the most points per game in the finals, Jordan shot 47 free throws in that series. LeBron shot 70 in this one. That's just the nature of the game now. Everything's a foul. Used to, you would pretty much go to the court. They would try to maul Jordan into a coma. He would just do what he did. And that just doesn't play anymore. You get suspended from the league if you played the way the New York Knicks or Detroit played back in the 80s and 90s. That's my round. There's just no comparison. I mean, LeBron's talented. He is an all-time, in the argument for the all-time greats. But when you're I'm not saying he's a bad player, but just when you compare him to the top 2 or 3 players, if I were starting a team tomorrow, my first 2 picks would be would be Michael Jordan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, because they were just dominant forces.
And a couple other sporting things. Smokies baseball. It's our East Tennessee Chicago Cubs AA affiliate. They should get a nationally televised game this coming weekend. I'm not a big baseball fan above the high school level, but I've been to Smokies Stadium a few times. It's a fun event. It's a fun place to go watch some baseball.
I really never heard of a AA affiliate having a national baseball.
CBS has a minor league game of the week now.
It's odd, but good for the Smokies, and you get to watch a future star too. Eventually they'll get called up to AAA, or maybe even go straight to the Cubs. I mean, most memorable Smokies alumni, I'm sure there's been some other good ones come through, but for the longest time was always Carlos Delgado, who left out of Knoxville, headed to Toronto when they were Toronto's affiliate club, and put out 3 or 4 40-home run seasons, and was a big name, big all-star kind of player. You can see some superstars come through those ranks occasionally.
Also, on a more sports entertainment basis, Great American Wrestling has decided to make Knoxville, Tennessee a regular tour stop. It's the closest thing we have to the territories now, and there's some talented wrestlers. I'll have a little bit more about that next week, including 2 guys from Campbell County that are going to be on the roster.
Well, good for them, and maybe I don't know if net wrestling will ever make a national recovery anymore. It's just been driven so far off the track, but maybe it will. So that would be good if it did. Used to be entertaining, but now it's just
really not anymore. See, that's Great American and NWA Smoky Mountain out of Kingsport. They're 2 good shows there on Fox 43 on Saturdays, and they actually are more what we grew up watching. So, and that's all I got for the week.
Yeah, I mean, that's about it. I mean, football mini camps are starting in the NFL. Des Bryant I saw was at mini camp today, but his contract's still not worked out with Dallas. Let's see where that goes if you're a Dallas fan. Manning looked good throwing it around out there, so I'm sure most
He looked
Tennessee
pretty
fans
good directing the band, too.
be happy with that. Never heard anything more on Brady's suspension. I still expect it to be reduced to 2 games or maybe completely thrown out. Patriots have just owned up and took their medicine over it. And the other strange story of the week, I guess, is for whatever reason, the St. Louis Cardinals were spying on Houston because an executive left St. Louis a couple of years ago for Houston. St. Louis suspected he had used their computer systems and their way of doing things, and he apparently had. And the guy used the same login and password information in Houston as he was using.
How much you want to bet his password was
St. Louis?
Was either password or QWERTY?
Possibly one of those 2, or maybe QWERTY 123 or something like that. But either way, I mean, apparently he used the same password, and St. Louis people foolishly were looking around. Baseball's not announced what penalty they may do. I mean, the FBI's actually investigating.
This is actually kind of a brave new world for baseball.
I mean, it's a pretty major cheating thing if you're doing that, in my opinion. I can't imagine that it shouldn't be a pretty harsh penalty, probably a big monetary
There could
fine.
actually be criminal charges.
Yeah, there's a good chance there'll be criminal charges, and it's just a weird story that I guess that's the modern world of sports. You don't send people out to be shady anymore.
You just do it from behind the screen.
You just do it via computer. But like I said, that's about it for the week.
Fans, we'll see you next week. Same pat time, same YouTube channel.